Good morning. Happy Monday. Why was the mole of oxygen molecules excited when he left the singles bar? He got Avogadro's number. Get it, like a telephone number, like he was going to date? But no, Avogadro's number is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Everybody knows that. Okay, your homework is posted. I'm going to post it this morning. We've got to finish the notes, which is on radioactive dating and radiation. And I'm giving you some homework just to practice for your test, which is going to be due tomorrow at 3:15. I will post these answers, the Regents Review Book question answers, tomorrow morning as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the final push for this unit. Okay, so hopefully you found these in the Regents Review Book at the end there. So we can use radiation for their benefits to figure out certain chemical reactions. I gave you the example of photosynthesis there, of course producing nuclear energy, but we can also do some diagnosing and some treating of certain disorders because radiation can kill cells and it will kill cancer cells. Okay, so here's basically what we're looking at today. Give me a second. Well, this is badly out of whack. So one of the things that can be can benefit by using radiation is to treat cancers. Now, not all cancers can be used or can be treated with radiation. Radiation is very specific. It can get to a very, very specific site in the body. So if you have something like leukemia, it doesn't work because leukemia is a cancer of the blood and blood's going everywhere. So you wouldn't be able to use it for that. But let's say if you had bone cancer or bladder cancer, you could use radiation for that. So here are some examples. Cobalt-60 and radium are used to kill cancer cells. Though some normal cells are killed, the cancerous cells tend to be more susceptible. So doctors have figured out what level of radiation is going to kill the cancer, but at the same time not kill you. So chemotherapy is sometimes contains some radiation. It's usually a cocktail of different chemicals designed to kill cells, and they've gotten a lot better at being more specific depending on what the cancer is. But a lot of times the person gets very sick with chemotherapy because of the levels of the chemotherapy. So you all know that if someone gets chemotherapy, the first types of cells that tend to die are hair cells. So they lose their eyebrows and their hair. That's because those hair follicles are susceptible to those drugs, more susceptible than other cells. So we can also use cobalt and radium for that. We can also use radiation to treat foods and grains to kill bacteria, molds, and fungi, viruses. This is also used, cobalt-60 is a source of gamma radiation for that. Essentially, they can take huge crates of food into a facility that has exposure to the radiation. They basically remove a door and then it gets radiated, and then they close the door and then move the next thing in. Okay? So you have all eaten foods that have been radiated, and to make it last longer, essentially, your food. And the last thing here is dating. Carbon-14 to carbon-12. Now, carbon-14 is the radioactive one. Carbon-12 is the most common isotope of carbon. And we can use this ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-14 to figure out how old things are. And it says living things here, but it really means things that are alive or were alive. And this works up to about 22,000 years. Because after that, because of the half-life of carbon-14 being about 5,700 years, after about 4 half-lives, there's so little of it in there, it's hard to detect. And uranium-238 and lead-226 ratio. So uranium-238 will disintegrate into lead-206, which is stable. And that's used for geologic formations. So if I take a sample of rock, for example, and I find out what the ratio of these two is, that tells me how many half-lives it's gone through. Now this is good for geologic formations because uranium-238 has a very long half-life. And let's take a look at 238. It's 4.47 billion years. So that's pretty close to the age of the Earth. So some of the longest, some of the oldest rocks have been identified how old they are by using this ratio. And I just said that, age of the Earth. Oldest rock is about I don't know why that happened, 4.1 billion years. Okay? So, that's the end of the notes. I want you to do these Regents Review questions, 228 and 229 odds, 228 evens. I will post those tomorrow morning. You can take a look at them. And then we will have a Zoom. I had to change the Zoom from today to tomorrow. It's not a Zoom, Google Meet. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So if you have any questions on that test, make sure you look them over. Try to do as much of the test as you can, and then come with questions tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Okay? See you then.